All right, well, good morning, Energy Rogue Nation. Welcome back to another weather discussion. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I do appreciate your patience. I know we were supposed to get out this European weather forecast on Thursday. It is now Friday. The reason for that is because I am currently dealing with some technical audio issues. As a matter of fact, I'm still dealing with it this morning. Had to get a couple of different takes out here of this video. So do appreciate your patience on that. And I just want to also remind you folks, for those that have not seen the Tuesday video, be sure to head on over to that on the YouTube channel and even on the Discord for those that are Energy Rogue subscribers, as we talk more about the United States winter weather trends over the next couple of weeks and also through the rest of December. So be sure to check out that video. That goes into much more detail on that. And the other announcement that I have is actually twofold. First one is that I am going to be posting a survey over the weekend that covers WX Rogue as well as the maps that I have that I've actually generated. And of course, these maps are in beta at the moment, currently working through these, but I do want your feedback on the current offerings that we have. That way, it gives me a sense of what you guys are looking for going forward. If there's a product that we don't currently offer that you would find to be incredibly useful, not just for yourself, but also for the rest of the group, be sure to let me know in that survey. Be on the lookout for that. It should be out over the weekend, and I would greatly appreciate your feedback. I'm always looking for any sort of constructive feedback that I can take away that will help to continue to improve and add value to this product over time. Ultimately, and especially this message goes to you folks that are subscribed to Energy Rogue, I want this to be useful to you. If none of this is useful, it means nothing, right? It doesn't help you out. It doesn't help anybody out. But of course, these charts I know, and from the feedback I've gotten thus far, are helpful, but I think we can all agree that it doesn't go far enough, right? And that's something that we're actively continuing to build upon on this first iteration. So I would greatly appreciate your feedback. And like I said, be on the lookout for that announcement and that attached survey over the weekend. Excuse me. The other announcement that I do have is regarding those maps that I just showed. So these will be posted in the Discord. If you were watching Tuesday's video, I mentioned that I would have a European map projection here for you guys to look at. I don't have it, unfortunately, for the sake of this video, but I will be posting that tonight in the Discord server itself. So this announcement is directly for you folks that are subscribed to Energy Rogue. These maps will be posted as GIFs. They will not be able to be interacted with, as I am actively working on them, but at least you'll have a chance to see what the latest forecast is on a map or a visual point of view. And like I said, these are currently in beta. This is not the final product. But of course, to me, it's a good start of where I want to go. Of course, with some revisions over time, this will really clean itself up and be of good use. So be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, I lied. I have one more announcement. I am going to be posting additional weather content over the weekends. So no longer will we just be doing video uploads for both Tuesday and Thursday. Instead, it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday, as well as Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday content's mostly just going to be general updates, and I may focus more on the US, but it's going to be mainly driven by what you guys want me to cover. So for you folks that watch the YouTube channel and are looking for additional content there, if you're looking at, maybe having me cover other areas of the world, for example, I am happy to do that. Leave a comment down below under this video on what you would like for me to talk about on Saturdays and Sundays. It doesn't just have to be temperature driven. If you guys want me to cover winter storms, if you want me to cover, tropical weather when we are mainly in tropical season, any other of these perils that you want me to talk about, I am happy to do so, but would love to have your feedback there. Post a comment down below and let me know what you would like for me to cover on Saturdays and Sundays. All right, let's dive into things. We're going to begin first by taking a look at wxrogue.com, and I want to turn your attention to these maps. And the reason for that is because we've had quite a few new subscribers here to Energy Rogue, and of course, a welcome to all of you that have joined our family here. And I want to start with these because I really think some of these NOAA maps require additional clarification for understanding. We'll begin first, and we'll actually just use the 6 to 10 day map as an example. This is pulled from the NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, so as a disclaimer, we do not create these maps. These are pulled from NOAA, as you can see by the watermarks here. We use these as a temporary visual, rather than just providing you all these different charts of population-weighted and gas-weighted degree days. We also provide these maps in the interim, just to give you more of a visual trend on where we're expecting to head, especially for the lower 48. And so when we look at a map like this, I think a lot of times we look at these dark colors and think it's going to be really, really cold. And that assumption makes sense because for all of us that have grown up watching the weather and seeing all those temperature maps, we've been trained to think that darker colors of both red or blue spectrum mean really warm or really cold, respectively. And in the case of this map, that's actually not the case. So on the bottom right, you see, and you may not be able to see it, but it's really, really small, you have it labeled probability percent chance. So the darker the colors on this map, the higher the probability of some of those temperatures. So that's the big distinction here, folks. It's not a depiction of either really warm or really cold temperatures, but rather is it a high chance of cold or a low chance of cold? So anytime you see these lighter blues, we're talking like maybe a 30% chance. But if you see that dark blue, we're really confident. We're talking, anything north of like 80%. Pretty high confidence. Same thing can be said for the 8 to 14. If we take a look at this map here, you can see that by the time we head out to between November 29th and the 5th, we have, about a 75% chance or a 70% chance of cold in the lower Great Lakes. So think probability, probability, probability. It's not magnitude. If you are interested in magnitude, of course, that's where the maps that I am working on come in, because that's actually going to show you the magnitude of both our cooling and heating degree days for the lower 48. That's what's going to really, I think, come full circle. You'll have a probabilistic point of view, but also a deterministic point of view that shows you some of those temperature regimes. All right, so that was my quick little forecast 101 for the day. Let's now head on into what we really want to talk about, which is European weather. And I have to say, it has really been a roller coaster ride for Western and Eastern Europe over the last few days. And I don't have to tell you twice, because you folks that are subscribed that currently live there, you're living it, right? I mean, we've seen snow in some parts. We've seen some well below normal temperatures, especially in places like Eastern Europe. It has really been an absolute roller coaster ride. And I hate to tell you, but that roller coaster ride doesn't stop. It's actually expected to continue as we head into the middle of next week. Let's take a look first at the Jetstream map, and this is looking at the EPS. So recall, the EPS is the European Ensemble. European Ensemble models are different from regular models in that rather than having one solution or one interpretation of the weather, it has 20 to 30 baked in. And that 20 to 30 essentially create a spread of the data. And it, for the sake of temperature, creates more of a mean or an average, right? So essentially a mean is derived from that. Now, of course, as we always like to preach here on these videos, there is no such thing as a silver bullet in meteorology. There is no one model that is the end-all, be-all, and the one-stop shop that will tell you everything you need to know and has a 99% accuracy. If that existed, I wouldn't be here, and I would probably just be a subscriber to Energy Rogue, and I'd keep my mouth shut and just show you a map, because there'd be no need for me, right? But we don't have that in weather, and despite the advancements in technology, we probably won't in our lifetimes or ever, right? I think it's, in my opinion, nearly impossible to know the future, essentially, and be accurate 99% of the time. We get pretty close. These models are performing better in that respect, but I don't think, and I think a lot of folks would agree in the weather community, we will never reach 99.9% accuracy over a period of time. It just won't happen. But that all said, this ensemble is taking a blend and it's taking an average. And the reason why we're using it is because we want to see just the pattern trends. I am not so much focused on how cold are we talking. I'm mostly concerned about the confidence in the pattern that we're going to be heading into over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, moving forward. So, if we take a look here as we head up towards today, which is Friday, happy Friday, we see an area of high pressure continuing to build off the coast of Greenland. And for my European friends, this is what we really look for when we're talking about cold air advection across Western Europe. If we're trying to forecast for a colder winter, I need to see that. I need to see high pressure building out near Greenland, because that's going to be what's responsible for advecting that cold air south. If I don't see that, and that's not really consistent, or even if I don't see high pressure building out in the northern Atlantic for that matter, then, for especially for even Western Europe, it makes it more bearish for the winter. So we always look for stuff like that, and that's a lot of it's tied to the North Atlantic oscillation, which we won't get into today, but yes, we are concerned about El Nino and La Nina for Europe too, but if we're looking for a stronger correlation in our teleconnections, I really care a crap ton about high pressure in Greenland. That's what I am always watching out for on medium and long range solutions. So as we head forward in time here, this takes us into Friday. As a result of that high pressure, look what happens. Here comes that cold air that's moving south into Western Europe and even Eastern Europe. And as we take this into Saturday and Sunday, we see that high pressure really begins to decay. And you're going to see what effect that has downstream as we head into late next week. But regardless of that decay, it was still, of course, strong enough to bring down this big lobe of low pressure across Western Europe. And this is actually going to lead to some pretty warm temperatures across that same region, because systems like this typically bring a really strong warm front and a really strong cold front. So that roller coaster ride is going to continue essentially into the weekend. We're going to see here in a moment some of those warmer temperatures extend into Western Europe, even in some cases well above and maybe even some record-breaking temperatures for this time of year across places like the UK, France, and Germany. But that is then going to be followed by some colder air, particularly impacting places like the UK and even some portions of Portugal and Spain. So roller coaster ride for sure as we head into the weekend and early next week. But then we see that ridge pretty much go away. And as a result, well, here's this sort of zonal pattern to some degree, a little bit semi-zonal, and this low pressure that sits just off the coast of Spain and Portugal. But you're going to see as we take this into beyond Wednesday of next week, we go Thursday, Friday, look at that. We have ridging out in Western Europe. That is not supportive of cold. As a matter of fact, we have even more colder temperatures expected for the lower 48. You can't say the same for Europe. You cannot say the same for Europe. So I will say this before we dive into some of those temperature anomalies, is that my forecast for winter for Western and Eastern Europe is different than the lower 48. Now some of you might be thinking, well, Brendan, I thought whatever happens in the U.S. is in lockstep with Europe. No, not always. And most of the time it's not, right? In this case, my forecast for the winter season overall, as we head into December, January, and even February, is calling for a mild to slightly above normal winter for Western Europe, and then a below normal winter in terms of those temperatures for Eastern Europe. So there's really going to be a stark contrast here. Now, I can't say the same for the lower 48, specifically the northern United States. I think much of December is going to frequent a lot of that cold air for the lower Great Lakes, the Northeast, and New England. And that's going to be more of a consistent regime. Once again, I cannot say the same for Europe. I'm not there. And I don't have any really sign that I see that's going to show that. Now, does that mean that we're going to be totally immune to the cold, that we're not going to see one of those Greenland blocks set up again this season? No, I think we're going to be due for probably one or two more of those. But overall, as we look at the macro season, I still believe that when we walk away from February and head into March, we're going to look back at winter in Europe, especially Western Europe, and say, you know what? That was once again, we had some cold air move through every now and then, but overall it's a pretty mild winter. So more of the same. Northern United States, I think it's a different situation. And a lot of that has to do with the high pressure that's expected to build out in the Pacific. Even though we don't have that Greenland block advecting some of that cold air south, you do have an area of high pressure off the page that will advect it south that way. So it's another mechanism in the United States to bring down cold, whereas in Europe, what I really am attuned to is that Greenland block. That's really a catalyst to more of that frequent cold air across Western Europe specifically. Let's end by taking a look at some of those temperature anomalies here. So we will look here at the I have to go to Europe, that's why. I was like, where are those temperature anomalies? I thought I was going crazy. Let's head over to Europe, and now let's put on those 2-meter temperature anomalies. And we'll look at actually the 5-day average. So you're going to see, as we head into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And actually, let's not use the 5-day average. Let's look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly. This will actually depict it quite better. So as we head into your Friday, continuation of some of those below normal temperatures. You'll notice throughout this that Eastern Europe remains cold, especially as we head into your Saturday and Sunday. Look at that furnace that just ejects across Western Europe. That's because of that broad warm front that's going to set up, essentially a warm front, cold front regime that's going to bring quite a bit of some of those above normal temperatures. Maybe could see some showers, maybe some thunderstorms across some of these areas. I mean, we're talking well above normal temperatures and a pretty strong system, so would not be surprised by that. But whenever you have a really big warm front, it's followed by a really big cold front. It's exactly what you see here as you head into your Monday and Tuesday, although the cold itself is going to discriminate pretty good because you're going to see that much of Western Europe remains still slightly above normal, but the areas that feel some of those colder temperatures is mostly confined to England and the UK, and also, of course, Finland and Sweden. But these other countries are going to still remain above normal temperatures throughout much of the middle of next week. Again, you will see that warm front move through by the weekend, bringing some of those well above normal temperatures, but that lingers throughout early next week, the middle of next week as well. And as we go beyond that point into what would be next weekend and into the first week of December, you see on these ensembles, I mean, still mild temperatures hanging around. And that to me makes a lot of sense because we are still forecasting for, a Greenland block deficiency, lack of high pressure that helps to dislodge some of that cold air into places like Europe. Exception to the rule is going to be far portions of Eastern Europe. I mean, especially as we head towards Ukraine. I know it shows above normal, but really I think that's going to be more of the consistent cold as places like Ukraine. And even up towards Belarus and places west of that, and Italy and so forth. But mostly for Western Europe itself, it's going to remain slightly above normal. I may have just said Italy. I do apologize. Please strike that. I did not mean to say Italy. I meant to say out towards Turkey. So, in summary, we're going to see a bit of a roller coaster ride extending into what would be this weekend into early next week. But temperatures are expected to moderate by the time we get to middle of next week and remain mostly mild for Western Europe, while those below normal temperatures are going to linger around Eastern Europe. And that, to me, is really a culmination of my long-range forecast for this winter season, which is calling for really a tale of two winters. Western Europe will likely be mostly above normal throughout most of the duration, with some periods of cold air, but not consistent enough to really bring down those overall averages, whereas Eastern Europe is going to, I think, be our below normal temperature region for much of this winter. And this outlook is valid for December, January, and even into early February. Listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. And for my Energy Rogue subscribers back on the Discord, if you have any questions on this video, be sure to post those down in the comments below on the Discord channel, Weather Rogue. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Friday, and we'll be talking soon on our next weather video. Take care.